So, my name is Jiri, and I'm going to talk about Ansible Callback plugins. So, some more information about myself. So I've been contributing to Ansible since 2014. I created a couple of modules which you can find in mainstream, doing time to time some bug fixes, code reviews, and publish my stuff mostly on GitHub and on the Galaxy portal. So we're going to talk about callback plugin. So what actually it is callback plugin? Callback plugin is actually quite a simple thing, as you can deduct from the name. It's a callback of Ansible based on some events. So every time there is a playbook starting, there is a play inside the playbook starting, there is a task starting, there is some asynchronous task and so on. There's many events which Ansible treats somehow. And for every single event, it calls some function to give you nice output of that event on the screen when Ansible runs. So this is basically all callback functions is the output of Ansible you see on the command line. Currently there's about 38 or so plugins, callback plugins, and we can see a list of some of them here. So they can turn the output of Ansible into a JSON format. So basically, when Ansible runs, then it is splitting out just JSON file or YAML file, or you can have a plugin for having debugging messages, what's happening inside Ansible on your screen, or you can make it more dense. It means that it's not that long, no much spaces around, and stuff like that. And you can also not only see the stuff on your screen, but you can also have callback plugins which send the output of Ansible to external system like Slack, to have everything in Slack. You know, that's what we want. Send it to email, Logstash, Splunk, whatever you like. So how to use it? This example, this one, this is closer to me. So basically, you can do it ad hoc on the command line. You don't have to configure anything anywhere else. You just set some environment variable. So in this case, I'm using the JSON callback plugin. And then I'm simply running Ansible playbook with some playbook. And that run of the playbook will be split out as a JSON document, basically. So that's an example when you run Ansible playbook, but if you want to run ad hoc Ansible only, so that's slightly different because you need one more extra environment variable to export to actually activate the callback plugins for it. And if you don't want to always export the environment variables on the command line, then you can go in the Ansible CLG file and define it in the config file there. It's a little bit more extended example. So we're exporting again some variables. We export one more extra variable where we say which host we would like to address. And then we run Ansible. So it's an Ansible playbook, it's Ansible run. And we use the environment variable here, and then we getting some inventory in, and we're using the debug module, yeah. And then as an argument of the debug module, we have this long or short string, this one, where we're saying, okay, print out the variable, that's the name of the variable, and then we pipe it to another command, which is JQ, which basically passes that JSON document, because we're using the JSON callback plugin, and we parse out of the JSON document certain information. So in this case, we getting down the document and getting to the Ansible host variable, where it gives us the value. And as it is a JSON, then the JQ returns us the quoted value of that variable. So that's why we're using a little bit of set here and replacing the quotes and sometimes, if it's a null value and you want to remove it as well. So if you, for example, run this in some shell script and store the output of this run into yet another variable, then you can test it if it's empty or not, right? If it has 0 lines or not. So like this, basically, you can use Ansible as a source of information for another processes like shell scripts and pipelines, for example, and query information from Ansible. So whatever variable you have in group vars, host vars, or any other vars, then you can query it from Ansible through this way. So how does it work inside? There are two versions of the callback functions. So there's basically version 2 and then version 2 callback plugins. So historically, there was a big change in Ansible when there was a release of version 2. It was basically rewritten from scratch almost. And so there's basically this separation. So pre-version 2 and after version 2. And we will see the whole list of version 2 callbacks on the next slide, but we can group the callback functions in, let's say, 3 categories. So it's something what touches the playbook, plays, or tasks, or the module itself, the task runs, and there's a small category of any other events, and some diff. So if you using --diff on the command line, that's the callback which is called. So this is the whole list of callback functions. So it has within the 3 categories. So as you can see, it's a playbook, and then, for example, some nice one on play start. Yeah? So when you have a playbook, you can have one or multiple plays inside the playbook. And this one is called when the play starts, right? And there is one more interesting one, which is, for example, on stats. So stats is the information which is printed after the playbook finished. That it gives you the summary, how many of the tasks were okay, how many changed, how many failed, how many escaped, and so on and so on, right? So that's the callback. On the runner, you can have callback functions when the module returns OK, so there was no change on the remote host, so everything is OK, or on failed, yeah, and so on. And then there's a small group of callback plugins, callback functions, which is written on any event, so that's called always, on any event, or there's on the diff of the file. So how does such a callback plugin look like? And is exactly how it could look like? That's actually functional. I will demo it a little bit later. So first, this is written in Python, and so it's very simple programming language. So first of all, you import some class from other file. Then you create your own class, which inherits the methods of the other class. Then you define a couple of variables which are mandatory, saying which callback version you're using, yeah, which type of the callback plugin it is, and what's the name of the callback plugin. And then you just use one of those functions in your module, and basically do something with the data which you get through the parameters of the function. So for example here, I'm just displaying starting play when play starts, and displaying showing stats when stats are shown at the end of the playbook. Yeah? And when we run it, then we basically get nothing else than just these 2 lines, because we didn't program anything else to do. Yeah? So that's just I was thinking about the shortest possible plugin I can write. So this is it. But obviously, the default one is much longer, and you can, if you want, inherit that one to have the default one and override just specific callback functions to enhance the default one or any other one. Yeah. So I'm gonna talk also about Callback which I have written. It's a little bit weird for you maybe. So it's CSV callback plugin, and yes, CSV is really the thing which you think it is. It's comma separated values. So basically, I got a task in the current company I'm working for. They came to me and said, Jiri, we need to report something from all cells. So how would you approach this? Ansible, right? There's no other questions, right? Ansible can do everything, right? You can cook your eggs, so you can do some reporting as well. So I've written a callback plugin which actually turns the output of the Ansible run into a CSV file. And it allows you to turn Ansible into a reporting tool, which is pretty cool. Yeah? It produces output in comma separated values format, and it's meant to run with, actually the reporting was done like, we want to know what OS there is, right? And we're not sure that there is actually Python installed, because sometimes it's very dummy machines or not even Python is installed there, so you can't run Ansible just like that there. So I was saying, okay, well, we can still overcome this with the raw module, which basically just SSH that and runs some shell script. That's it. So this module doesn't work on playbooks really, like for any task. It works only for modules which spits out simple text on the standard output, which is not the case for all modules in Ansible. So far, only raw and shell kind of can be used, or should be used with this plugin. And if the module is not returning comma separated or CSV format, then kind of like fails. Yeah? I was trying to contribute this beautiful plugin back to Ansible, but the guys were like, if you don't know if somebody would use it. Do you know someone who doesn't know what CES is? Everybody is using CES. Excel, that's basically CES, right? Or CSV, sorry. So why not? And I said, we're trying to keep the core of Ansible a little bit lean, because we have so much code, and we're introducing this collection approach, so everybody can build their own collection and distribute sideways. So we care only about our core, and then anybody else care about the rest. So Jiri, maybe we don't accept it. So I said, okay, that's fine. I live with that. So how to use it? It's the same thing like I showed before. Just export some environment variables. One of them is pointing to the CSV plugin. I'm adding one more environment variable here, pointing to a directory where the CSV plugin lives. So Ansible know where to find it. Because the previous examples were using plugins which are built into Ansible, so you don't have to do this. But if you build your own, that you need to say where it lives. And then you simply run it, right? So I run it locally, not necessarily anywhere, and using the raw module. And by default, how the plugin is configured by default, we just return something like this, and the output is some headers of the columns, basically, oh, I should have messed up. This shouldn't be here. There should be only host and status, and that's basically the comma separated values there, and it gives you some nice stuff at the end, right? If you want to extend it, then there is a configuration which you put in your Ansible CLG file under this section, and you basically can specify which fields you want to have in the CSV file and what value you're expecting it to be. So there's a couple of placeholders. So you can say like the name of the server, the host, sorry, this is IP, is the Ansible host variable, and so on and so on. You can also specify that it's a variable. So you can put inside the output any variable it's known in Ansible, right? And then you specify the format, which basically is copying kind of like this, and this portion is in the message. So that's basically collapses into the %n, and then these last three, yeah? And if you run it on some real machine, then you basically can get something like this. But there is an assumption that you need to have a script which you pass on the other side, which is run, and which prints out the comma separated values, which then is consumed by Ansible and printed out on the command line, right? So, but how to get the script there? Because we're using a raw plugin, so we can't use the copy plugin, so the module to copy the file over, because we're using the raw module. So I came up with something like this. So as an argument to the raw module, I'm passing this simple shell script like thing, where I'm echoing, and then in subshell, I basically translate the facts script to base 64 string. So this echo on the remote side basically prints the 64-bit, base 64-bit, base 64 string, and pipes it to another base 64 on the other side. So it basically decodes it, it's decoding, and puts it in the facts SSH on the other side. And then I just make it executable and execute it. Yeah? And if you click here on this text information, then you get actually the script which I'm using there. And once that runs, then it actually spits out this output where I'm getting the inventory name, the real host name on the other side, which is produced in the script, IP, OS, version of the OS, number of cores, number of memory, the status, and then some group with which the host is in, and some short name of the, just to demonstrate that we can query variable. But it can be whatever you like, you can configure it, yeah? And as you have this, then you can actually query not only Linux machines, but you can query also Windows machines, yeah? So I didn't speak here yet about how to manage Windows machines with Ansible. This might be one of my future talks. But this is what I came up with to get the equivalent of the facts shell script in PowerShell, because that's what you have to use on Windows. So basically, you use win shell, and as an argument, you put this long string which produces the same length shell script, and you get the same output for Windows machine. Okay, demo time. I hope it looks better than last time. So by the way, last time I messed it up because you didn't pay attention and you tell me that one of the git command I messed up, so it didn't push on the repository. But that happened. So here I have a very short playbook with one play, and here I have my plugin, as I showed it in the presentation, right? So it's exactly as it's in the presentation, and actually this one doesn't have to be there, leave it. And when we run it, then so I'm basically calling this Ansible, sorry, this environment variable. So environment variable with name of my plugin, and then just Ansible playbook. Yeah? When I run it, I get these two outputs. Yeah? So nothing else is there. So I could add more functions there and make it beautiful, whatever. So that's one thing which I wanted to show you. And second thing is I basically created a couple of VMs in background. So ignore the error messages because that's some programming with background, because my system upgraded Ruby to high version and background doesn't understand it, so it's like you see these error messages. But yeah, so I have like 4 VMs. So it's CentOS 7 and 8 and some Ubuntu's, yeah? So all virtual machines running there. And I will run a couple of commands which I've written here to make some mistakes. So I will target the CentOS 7 machine now, and I will query the Ansible host variable from the output of the Ansible RAM. Yeah? And you see that it gives me the IP. Yeah? If I delete the set, as I said, then you get the quoted value. And if I remove the JQ, then you see the JSON document which Ansible spits out. Yeah? Other thing is the facts script to demonstrate it, how it runs. So again, exporting variable to use the CSV callback plugin, and then passing the inventory, and then using an error module with argument, as I said, with this shell script. And if you run it, that it gives you the CSV output, right? So you can pipe it to a file, because if you redirect the standard error output to the now, then you get only the file. Yeah? So the file goes to standard output, where the stats go to standard error output. And to format it nicely, you can use the colon -d separator is comma, and you get a nice table. Yeah? And that's it. Some questions?